these are all things that attract the next buyer, because you have to think about that next buyer when you're buying any type of property.
I'm Drew Breneman, and this is the Rise and Invest podcast. I bought my first 2 properties as a 19-year-old with my own money that I earned from an online business I started in high school. I've now grown my portfolio from that first duplex to hundreds of millions of dollars of investment property. My goal with this show is to give you the resource I wanted when I first started out. Subscribe to our podcast where I break down real-life stories, tactics, strategies, and current market information you need to be a successful investor. With us today is Mike Hansen, realtor and real estate investor. I'm excited to bring him on today because Mike's been in the trenches accumulating properties. He has 7 multifamily properties and successfully pivoted from a corporate job to being a full-time real estate investor and realtor. Today, you're going to learn about passive income, living rent-free, buying your first property, managing your own properties, and dealing with tenants. So please welcome Mike Hansen.
Hey, Drew, thanks for having me today. I'm so happy to be here. Excited to jump into all this.
Great. Yeah, appreciate you being on. Why don't we just jump right into it? How'd you get started in real estate?
Sure. So it goes back to my father. He was a mortgage lender up in Northern Illinois, and he saw various clients of his coming through the office, investing in real estate and having some strong cash flow from that. So he decided, he wanted to give it a try too. So he started investing in real estate up in Waukegan, Illinois, and slowly built his portfolio.
Nice.
And over time, I remember as a young kid helping him paint apartments and lay floors and install fixtures, and that pivoted to me, working on paying bills and bookkeeping and things like that. And from there, I was hooked. Like, real estate became a passion and something that made me excited every morning.
Nice. Yeah, what did your dad do? Did he work at a bank or was
Yeah, so he worked at a savings and loan, and he basically originated mortgages. So he, someone would come in for a home loan, and he, would take the application and run through the whole process.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And you could see their bank accounts too.
You could see their bank accounts.
How they were doing.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, nice.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's cool that he's able to involve you in that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, it was really nice, and I learned so much from him, and that really drove my passion and drove my interest.
Yeah, nice. I was able to do it the opposite direction. I was able to get my dad involved later on about doing the construction work with us.
Yeah.
I mean, on one of the student rental properties, the Mifflin one, we'd go up there and work on it together.
Oh, yeah,
but it was
nice bonding time.
Yeah, it was opposite direction. It was me basically getting them to go and work for nearly for free for 3 days. So once a year. Cool. So, well, nice. Well, yeah. Then so then you got interested in it from seeing what your dad was doing. I guess kind of in what was his portfolio like? These were just they were single family houses, or they were apartments, or what kind of stuff were you seeing?
Yeah, so we started off buying 2 flats and single family homes, and he'd go in and renovate them, so add value, so he's able to
Nice.
get a higher rent, and then essentially rent them out, stabilize the property, and either hold it long term or sell it. And eventually started working his way up to larger buildings, 12 units, then 24 units, just
Nice.
went on from there.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so then I guess you kind of got the itch seeing what he was doing. Then what was kind of the first thing you did, or what'd you?
Yeah, so having that background in real estate, led me to the University of Wisconsin-Madison. It has one of the best real estate programs in the country, and just really wanted to go there from a young age. And luckily, I got in and ended up majoring in real estate marketing.
And then nice. So you, I guess, so when you applied to Madison, you already knew about the real estate program?
Oh yeah. I looked into it well in advance, like years before I was even thinking about colleges. I knew about the real estate program.
That's interesting. Yeah, because then I went there too. Obviously, that's how we met. But then I just sort of lucked out. Really
fell into.
Well, yeah, because I wanted to go in state. That was the best place. I'm from Wisconsin, and then out of the Wisconsin schools, and then. Yeah, I was thinking of being a doctor. Thinking that would be a cool plan. Maybe like the Subway restaurants are really hot when we were in high school. It's a new concept. So I was like, maybe I should be a dermatologist or something. I could open up Subways and do that. But yeah, long story short, I just decided let's major in business instead on the orientation day.
Yeah,
So
well, you made a good decision.
Yeah,
I think life worked out.
Yeah, but then lucked out that they'd had the best or second best program, depending on what year you're looking at. Well, nice. So then, so you majored in real estate and marketing at Madison. Then what'd you do after school?
Yeah, so out of school, I was recruited by Merrill Lynch Capital. Started my job right after graduation, working in real estate commercial finance, and there we did bridge loans and construction loans on large commercial properties. So a typical project for us would be a large 100 to 300 unit apartment complex, that ground up new construction, condo conversions. And we did bridge loans for companies that would come in and reflag a hotel, which basically means they'd buy like one branded hotel and brand it to a higher quality hotel, make some renovations, and then instantly increase the value. Once they increase the value, they get their permanent financing.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting. It was fun to see the dynamics of the construction loans. It was interesting to see what people were doing to add value in different markets around the United States, and really gained a lot of useful knowledge working there.
Yeah, I actually still remember when they went and they had talked at it was a UW, just like real estate club, talk or something like that. I just still remember, I was so impressed how complicated these deals were they were lending on. There was some high rise in Miami they were talking about for the session. It was really cool.
Oh yeah. And there's profit participation in some of these deals, so it was very interesting to work through them, and got to travel to see the portfolio as well, which as a young, early recent grad, just being able to be put up in a hotel and go to a Carolina Panthers game, it was really cool.
Nice. And then, so how long did you work there?
I worked at Merrill Lynch Capital for about a year, and then the downturn came. So with the downturn,
we're talking about 2008, 2009.
Yep. Okay. With the downturn, we got bought out by GE Capital, and with that, I got a 1-year contract working with them, which I was happy. I mean, a lot of people I knew were getting laid off, right away, and I had some job security for a year, and then I'd figure out what I was going to do. So learned quite a bit working at GE, way different type of company, worked with some great people and still have connections with some of them today. But at the end of that 1-year contract, that's when I realized I really wanted to create a life by design versus a life by happenstance. And for me, that meant working for myself.
Nice. And were you, I guess, kind of when did that thought cross your mind where you wanted to work for yourself?
Kind of towards the end of my tenure working in corporate on that GE contract. I just figured you never need to worry about job security if you're working for yourself, and you can set your own goals and work to achieve those goals, and you have a lot of control in that. Yeah.
You really do. And so I would start to cross my mind is this whatever the quote is, where it's you quit your 9 to 5 to work, just as like the punchlines, like every minute basically.
Well, that's true. I mean, I have unlimited vacation, but I still work on every vacation. But I'd rather have that than not being able to take vacation. So blessed to have a team that can help me when I'm out of town, and I'm still very, people can still call me and text me and email me even if I'm out of the country. So.
And what's great with having your own business and setting your own schedule, like you're not needing to ask anybody about it. You're just deciding.
Yep, exactly.
So that makes a lot of sense. So then, while you're working at Merrill Lynch and GE, did you do anything to set yourself up then to buy your own properties, or? Yeah,
so I was always living below my means. So I lived at home with my parents, and that meant that I didn't have a rent payment every month, and I was able to save a majority of my paycheck. And I had aspirations like to buy a BMW when I started working corporate America, because I love cars. But instead I went with a RAV4 and was able to save some money there, and it was a great car, and I enjoyed it for like 8 years, I think. So basically that helped me set me up for a down payment, where I had the means to buy my first property. And it came down to me thinking like, hey, I really enjoy living rent free. How do I live rent free in the city of Chicago where all my friends are? And it was very clear that what I needed to do was buy a live-in owner occupied investment property. So
Yeah, and a lot of this story I know because we're friends.
Yeah.
But I remember all this too. And what really impressed me, I remember we were talking on the phone. I think I was still in school, and you were at the Merrill Lynch job, and yet you were taking the train. And where your parents lived wasn't like close by to work, really. I mean, for most people, like a 15-minute commute's normal. This was either drive your car to the train or walk, and then take a train for like 45 minutes, and then walk to the office. And then, and we were working past 5. So you just spend every minute either working or commuting. So it wasn't like easy, where that was one thing that I was, always impressed by, where you're able to, I'm sure save a lot of money doing that, but it wasn't easy. And then it's enjoyable, to live with your parents, for some things, but other things it's not, where you want to go out with your friends and you're an hour away.
Yep.
And then same thing, with the RAV4. I remember we did the like cash for clunkers thing, I think, on that. Even, so we're making like frugal choices so we can save money, and then, just sort of delay the payoff on all this.
Exactly. So, I mean, my goal was set out in the future, and to obtain that, I really needed to save. So I did what I could. And it was like a 3 hours round trip. So it was like an hour and a half each way to get to work. Yeah. Which sounds ridiculous now, especially when people are working from home and, you can roll out of your bed into your desk. But
yeah. And that, and right. Cause people will, they'll hear like, okay, he has 7 properties, like must be nice. But it's like, well, I mean, what about riding the train basically for 3 hours, for 2 years? And then, I think you had worked at a BMW dealer.
I did.
In high school or at some point. So like, that wasn't just like that, who wouldn't want to buy that car? And then you worked at the place. Yeah. But instead of doing that, and obviously you had a full-time job as a lender, like you could have got that car if you really wanted it. But instead, let's delay it, and, you can still look forward to getting a BMW in the future. Yeah. So, So then what did it look like? So you started looking for your first property after you quit. You were also getting your license at the same time. So then you were looking like on your own as your own broker then, or?
So the first property I bought before I got my broker's license, but, seeking that property out, I really learned a lot about the whole real estate deal process, and being able to work with another realtor at the time was very useful, where I wasn't going in zero experience. I had the experience of that realtor to help me with the first one. But, I had a lot of real estate experience, where running numbers on a deal to make sure that I'm getting the cash flow that I want. I had some experience with rehab projects and construction, which helped me determine, hey, this property needs a lot of deferred maintenance, investment, and capital expenditures. Just it's got a roof that's 35 years old. That thing is probably going to need to be replaced. So having an eye for the physical attributes of the building before I'm making an offer, and then also understanding the market, so the rental comps in the area, what the rental potential is, and the overall return I'm looking to get, like running all that together helped me come up with the perfect property.
Yeah. And so then how did you get, I could imagine between school, what you did with your dad, and then the job you had, like that helped with the number side. But then how did you figure out how do you know about construction? Download our 100+ page passive investing guidebook today. Accredited investors can sign up for our multifamily investment opportunities as well by hitting the Invest Now button on our website. Now back to the show.
So, during college, I interned with a developer, and that was over a summer down in Florida. So I worked from ground up new construction there. And then also just working in my dad's business, we rehabbed so many little houses and units where a lot of it, I was actually the manual labor. So, so I learned a lot about like what it took to put in new floors, or like budgeting for a new kitchen, or like all that stuff I learned at a young age, and I was able to apply it even to my first property. And then it just kind of took off from there, where over the years I gained more and more construction experience, digging out basements, doing gut rehabs, and things like that. So.
Nice. So then kind of on that initial purchase, so you're saying I'm running the numbers, I'm looking at the physical stuff, but then what would you say you were focusing on the most, or what were you, because at a certain point, like there's so much stuff, you haven't bought a property yet at that point, there's so much of you're not aware of, like how it'll go. Like what were you focusing on? So location was number one. So I really knew where I wanted to be, because I wanted to be close to where my friends lived and hung out. So that
I zeroed in on that. And then from there, I just tried to find the best properties that made sense.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But then to you at that time, how would you describe like the best property? Because you're also going to live in it. So I'm just kind of
curious. The
curious.
best property for me, started with the location and then closely followed by what's the rental potential on this? Am I buying this for a long-term investment? Yes. And I want to see rent growth. I want to see appreciation over the years, and felt really safe doing that. I bought in Lincoln Park, and
which if you're not familiar with Chicago, that's just one of the nicest neighborhoods basically in the city.
Yeah. So and really, like, I followed what the trends were in the neighborhood. It's like, whoa, there's a lot of new single family homes. There's a lot of new condo development. There's a good school in the neighborhood. These are all things that attract the next buyer, because you have to think about that next buyer when you're buying any type of property. Like, how many people can I sell this to? If it's limited, then that might hurt your chances of selling the property. But if it's broad, you have a lot of options out there.
But then even on your first deal, you were thinking of all that?
Yeah. And I mean, that was because my dad was speaking in my ear, though,
yeah,
because he had experience buying properties for years too. So I remember that being like a lesson he had. Think about that next person that comes along.
Yeah, that's right. And we do that with how we like value all our deals, where we sort of run the numbers, how to actually operate for us. But then we want to make sure if, let's say, we can operate it like cheaper than most, like when we go sell it, they might not use the same numbers we have. So then we make an adjustment on sale. So we do something similar like now, but I'm surprised that's like, year 15, we're doing stuff like that. But I'm surprised, that you're already thinking of all that. Because I would say on my first deal, I wanted to be comfortable with there's so much I didn't know. So I was just like, I'm just focused on cash flow.
Yep.
Like, I want to really make sure I'm going to get this rent number right, and then what my costs are. And then if I screw up all the other stuff, like I paid too much, and this was with my own money, so I don't have any investors. So just, you can make mistakes, on when it's your own money. And then just kind of what is that? Just really get the cash flow dialed in. And then for me, it was just as simple as like, well, I can live for free in this, and there's $200 extra a month. I got a lot of room to mess it up. Yeah,
exactly. And that is very important. Like, how big are your margins? If there's a large margin, there's more room for your speed bumps.
Yeah. So then the first deal you moved into, what did at that point, what did that sort of look like? I mean, obviously let's not get into like exact numbers here, but like was it a deal where you could live in it, and then you're living in it for free, or how did that look?
Yeah. So I bought a 3-unit building, and it was comprised of three beds throughout the building. The top unit was a duplex up, so 2 floors. And I lived in the duplex up, what people would deem the owner's unit. And I had a roommate, and then I rented out the other 2 floors. And with that, I lived rent-free for 9 years.
Wow.
And, so it was huge. I mean, that allowed me to then take that savings and then invest it in the next property. And then it just snowballed after that, where I still have my savings from living for free, and then I have positive cash flow from that next deal that then I put into the next one, and that's how I ended up with 7 properties.
Wow. And because if you think about it, if you more or less link all that time together, for the most part, for 2 years working, and then there's a little bit of time in between where you hadn't bought the first place yet, but then for 9 years, so more or less 11 of most of the 11 years more or less over probably like a 12-year period, you had no housing expense.
Yeah, correct.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah,
you can save a lot of money doing that. And then that's a great story where if, then as a realtor today, you could explain that to, potential clients, like, here's what you could do. Maybe before we get into that, let's talk about some other deals you did. So that was the first deal.
Sure.
What did the second deal look like? Did you,
I brokered that deal. So basically I bought a building in the Southport corridor, still own it today. Another 3-unit property, and basically what I was looking for was cash flow, where I have cash on cash, which is basically your return on equity of at least 10%. And to get to that 10%, I did need to do some light remodeling on a garden unit. But so I bought this building. It comprised of a 4-bedroom duplex up, and then a 2-bed flat and a 2-bed garden unit. Yeah, I did renovations that first winter of the garden unit, and instantly tripled my rent in that garden unit. And then all of a sudden I was already hitting my 10% cash on cash, which happened pretty quickly. And, over the years, it's been a really nice, strong cash flowing property. And, we've reinvested into it just to keep up the value. And, for example, putting in a new garage, because the old garage was like an old horse stable, basically, like that was converted into a garage. It's like original from the late 1800s.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's probably time to replace this. New concrete,
So like brick floor?
Someone's put a slab, but
Okay.
it was. I mean, you could almost make out the horse stalls, but
Yeah.
and I mean, just some refreshing on the other units. Putting in unit laundry in the middle unit because it didn't have it, and new white kitchen in that too.
Yeah.
and really like increasing that rent as well. So for me, if the game plan is to keep the property for a long time and then sell it, you want to keep continually improving it so you keep your rents up. And should you need to sell it in any given year, you're competing with the condo quality units instead of
Something feels like it's 20 years old or
correct.
something. Yep. And then like on the kitchen, then if you went with white cabinets, that was probably, and actually we should back up the years. So the first place you bought, it's like 2009, 10-ish.
The first place I bought was 2010.
And then what year, this place you were just talking about, what year was that?
2012.
And then the kitchen remodel?
The first kitchen in the garden unit.
Right away.
That was right away. And I didn't put white cabinets in then because they weren't in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking. 'Cause I figured it was later. Or if you bought it in 2012, you were thinking these brown cabinets are perfect.
Exactly.
We never change them.
Brown cabinets, brown granite.
Yeah.
It still looks like a nice kitchen, but it's just not
2015
on trend right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I did the white kitchen like I think 2 years ago. So
nice.
it's a continuous process of I'm not trying to do everything at once.
Yeah.
And that helps on the cash flow side too, where you're evening out your capital expenditures and versus having, monster losses in a year because you did everything.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then because then all the subsequent deals, what's interesting where a lot of, one strategy people have is they're moving around. We're going to do a FHA loan is 3.5% down, or just whatever, a 5%, like a owner occupant loan. And I'm going to, I have 7 properties, but I lived at all of them for a while. So you didn't need to go that route. You ended up just keeping your bills low, and then your realtor, you've got other, you got money coming in, then you're just able to save for a down payment. More or less, that was the plan. Once you have a down payment, then buy another. Yeah,
exactly. And I thought about going the route of moving between properties, but at the end of the day, I really didn't want to move that often.
Yeah.
And so that changed. That changed everything. I mean, it also helped, I got married and then we're now a dual income family.
Yeah.
So it helped us to save even faster.
Yeah. And then it'll be interesting. What did your wife or girlfriend at the time, what did she think of all this when
I first met Kelly,
kind of unique, right?
She was like, thought I was crazy for investing in real estate. Like she didn't quite understand it at first. Like, oh, you're making money investing in real estate. But the more I talked through it, she became even more interested in real estate than me.
Oh, really?
Where she was like, when can we go out and buy the next deal? Which was awesome.
That's great to be that much on the same page.
Yeah. So we ended up being on the same page, but it took me walking through the process because, she went from zero to then being a real estate investor.
That's great. Yeah, because being on the same page, then she'd be, if she wants to buy the next deal as well, or wants, is interested in that, then that makes things a lot easier.
Yeah,
where it's not like real estate's, your thing, and then it takes some arm twisting to get the next property.
Yeah,
where she was, all in, which that's great. So then what was the third deal like? What is that? A similar kind of thing, just something.
So the third deal, actually, a student rental in Lakeview, and basically I purchased that through another broker. It was off market.
Nice.
And I do this quite often for myself and for clients. It's canvassing what's on the market, but also what's off market. So he had this property that had been on the market in the years past. The owner was anticipating tearing it down eventually to build a single family, but then life changed, and really like the return numbers were good on it. Although, it needed some work, so we've done, some work to it, but that could end up being a building that we end up redeveloping in the future too, where we haven't completely gutted the place. We haven't put in new kitchens. We've just, elevated it bit by bit.
Okay. So future developer, maybe.
Yeah. I think, if it makes sense, if the numbers make sense, I'm not gonna like discount any opportunity for selling it. So whether it's eventually tearing it down and building a single family or holding it on to it forever, it might make more sense to do that than gutting it and putting in condo quality units. But it's close to the DePaul campus, and so the units rent out really easily. We've got some great residents there that are
nice. And it's interesting to hear about this. Each deal is pretty different then, and that or some were on the market, some are off market, some were more or less move-in ready, some needed rehab. It's interesting. Any other, we don't need to go through every deal. So any other like notable ones might be interesting for like listeners to hear about?
I think that most of my other deals kind of came up the ordinary way. All of them were on the MLS, and it just took going through many properties and running, like there's so many properties I even ran the numbers on before seeing.
Yeah.
And if it didn't work out, if it wasn't even close, then I wouldn't see it.
Okay, that's a good takeaway. So then you like to run the numbers before even going and seeing it.
Yeah, correct. I run the numbers because in the past when I first started off, I had wasted my time at a couple buildings, and no one likes to waste time.
Right.
I don't want to waste time for myself. Now I don't want to waste time for my clients. I don't want to waste time for even the other broker.
Yeah.
So if it's never going to work, then I don't even see it. But
it makes sense. We do the same thing.
Yeah.
And the point is not, it's just kind of get an initial gauge where, if you make your numbers and this is like the perfect scenario and it's still not going to work out, then no need to check it out. Yeah. But if it's close, then go look. Maybe you realize once you go, the rent should be higher, or there's something that they weren't thinking about it. Chicago, huge unfinished basement.
And there are a lot of properties that are right there on the fringe where it's like, if we can get rents up, then it makes total sense. But I'm not going to look at, 3 flat that has all 1 bedrooms that, is listed for, over $1 million. It just doesn't make sense. I'll never get that rent out.
Yeah. It makes total sense. So then I guess let's talk about being a realtor today then. So I guess when that business, so you started, you got your license after GE, then what did that look like? So then you just right away you started getting clients?
Yeah. So at first, I'm working on getting my license, and in the meantime, to be able to have some income coming in, because when you become a realtor, it takes time to build up a business. I was working for my family, managing the last of the buildings up in Waukegan.
Yeah.
In years past, my dad was slowly starting to sell the properties. Still had a 24 unit building up there that my parents wanted to live in Florida, and it was a perfect opportunity for me to step in and say, okay, I'll take over management while I'm transitioning, into being an investor of my own. So,
it's great. Yeah, it's interesting to hear that. And you did the same thing for us too. When we had our first 4 deals here, you were managing those. And what I always thought was interesting was, people, they'll quit their job and they're, you kind of need like a full plan, but you were ready. I'm just going to dive into this real estate thing, and then kind of, in like the first year, then okay, I could just manage these properties in Waukegan for a fee. I can help out Drew on these for a fee, and then this is sort of call it like kind of part-time gigs that can work around being a realtor, finding your own deals. But then that I'm sure helped a lot. Yeah. Until the realtor business took
exactly off. It did. Everything fit together really well, and I gained useful information, useful knowledge out of all those different aspects. So I never thought that anything was beneath me at the time. I was out of a job and looking to transition to what I wanted to become, and so I took that as a learning opportunity to really do everything I could.
Nice. And how did you? One thing, and I think I had asked, and the answer was mostly from your dad. But at that point, do you have any examples or people you were looking to? Because now, most people that like we either went to school with or that we know, no one. There's not a lot of people who are quitting their job like 2 years in.
Yeah,
going out on their own. So
I had conversations, a lot of conversations with my dad. He was the main source, and then of course hearkening my knowledge from the University of Wisconsin. And I remember, we had conversations about it too, just about like real estate investment in general, knowing you invested early on in Madison. So taking all that stuff together, I really I really, form my plan out of that.
Yeah. So then what was nice for your situation wasn't like this is something you had at least not even seen before. You had not done it yourself, but you could at least look like, my dad was able to do it, on a part-time basis. And then, you had a friend who was doing it too, so then that I'm sure was, it's interesting. Yeah. That would be, someone, cause even, for myself, I do that where I look at other sponsors or people, what are they doing? And, I just draw a lot of inspiration from what I just see. Just other people doing.
I mean, other people have done it in the past. Why not look at what they've done?
Yeah.
And follow the scripts. I mean, it's as easy as that. I mean, why reinvent the wheel when other people have done it?
Yeah. And that's a great way to think about things. Mm-hmm. Where you see someone doing it and there's, they're not anything necessarily magical about what's going on. They're just started.
Yeah. They just started. And the first deal is kind of scary. It's a lot of money, and any purchase could be, but yeah, I mean, once you get going, it's becomes easy.
Nice. Yeah. So then as a realtor, then what are you, what does your business look like? What are most of your clients looking for?
Yeah. So basically my specialty is helping out clients buy and sell property within the city of Chicago. So that's anything from single family homes, condos to multi-unit investment properties. I also help individuals buy and sell in the suburbs too. And I mean, it's been great building a team at Keller Williams and, really kind of expanding my business.
Yeah, great. And I think, so then I'm sure a lot of clients are interested in, buying rental properties. Mm-hmm. I mean, that would be a way you'd, I'm sure, get, win clients, where they want to do something and you've done it 7 times, so then I'm sure that helps.
It does help. And, so having that investment knowledge, really helps for anyone looking for an investment property, but also all my experience with construction management helps for any real estate purchase. So because I've done most of the rehabs that people are looking to perform. So whether it's a new kitchen, new bath, want to finish a basement or gut a home, we even gutted a home. So from start to finish, I've been through it all.
Yeah. You're saying you did.
Yes.
You and your wife did. Yeah,
yes. My wife and I developed our home basically.
Yeah. So the initial 3 unit that you bought, the reason that it was the 9 years period ended is because then you turned it into a single family house with a
correct
additional unit.
Yeah. So we basically decided we love our neighbors and we love our location.
Yeah.
And decided the down payment we were saving for buying a house, we gutted what we were living in. Yeah. So we basically gained a floor. So we were living in the top 2 floors and we gutted the main level. That was a 3-bed, 1-bath, made that our living space. And then we renovated the garden unit ahead of time. And we actually lived in the garden unit while we renovated to save money,
nice.
For that period too. But yeah, the garden unit, we can have it as an income producing unit. Like nice. Right now we have a couple people renting from us downstairs, but the long-term vision is it'll be more of a in-law suite where we've got friends all over the country, family all over the country. They want to come and visit it, they can stay there. And
great.
It's their own unit. So yeah,
that's a nice setup. And it's nice to have a little separation too.
Exactly. So, yep. Especially for long-term stays. So.
Yeah. Nice. Then what about, why don't you tell me some strategies? So let's say I'm coming to you, I'm a potential home buyer. Yep. I want to buy like a 1 to 4 unit. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing these people on, whatever TV talking about buying rental properties. What would you tell me?
So first step is trying to determine what you actually want. So are you looking for a live-in investment opportunity or are you looking for just having a cash flow opportunity? So do you want to live with your tenants and live for free or have passive income? And it can start off with, buying a live-in owner occupied unit and then turn into a passive income stream. And that was my original goal buying my first property.
Yeah.
And, that ended up, turning into, well, we're living there forever now.
Yeah.
but yeah, both ways work really well for growing wealth because you've got, principal pay down, you've got cash flow, and you've got appreciation. So three things working for you.
Yeah.
So that would be the first step. So figure out what you want. Second step, figure out location. And for my clients, I'm there to help them through the whole process, whether it's, helping them determine if a live-in opportunity is right for them. if they want to live in that type of situation, which I found to be great because you essentially have control over your property. So
Yep.
It's a nice thing.
Well, yeah. Then for the so then I guess if you're talking about a live-in property, then maybe they're going to ask you about property management. Maybe let's go to that at the end. So what about for like financing? Do people they come into you like what are my options, or you just recommend they talk to like a loan originator?
Yeah. So that is a good first step as well. So talking to a lender, and there's different loan products for someone that's living in their investment property versus someone that is buying a standalone investment property, and you can usually get a better rate on the live-in property. So that's another game plan if you want to get a lower interest rate, 30 years fixed. Get owner-occupied financing, live in it, and then you can move on to your next one and have just low interest rates on all your properties.
And then lenders are more flexible with the down payment, where you are not flexible, they just require less if you live in it.
Yeah, for a 2-unit, I think there's some banks that are lending 10% or 15% on a 2-unit right now, and for a 3 and a 4-unit, it's traditionally 20% still.
20% down.
Yeah. But yeah, I know that some non-owner occupied, it could be up to 25% depending on the bank.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and I think in Chicago, at least where you're mostly working, the home prices are high enough where like the FHA program is hard to find something and be below those maximum loan amounts they have. But for a lot of people across the country, you could do this FHA program where it's 3.5% down, and not everyone's a realtor, but if they also were, then you're also getting your commission on it, so then you're offsetting like half of that already. But so that's a great program for people to look into, I think. So you're living.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, especially if you live in an area where most all the properties are going to be loan amounts that'll be below those amounts. Then your issue with that program for Chicago, like a 3 flat, nowadays like $1 million, so then you're over that limit.
Yeah,
pretty quick. But in the rest of most other parts of the country, it's right within those dollar amounts, and so you can get into a property if you're fine living in it and for very little down. So then that's a way to do it, and you just got to be careful because you're really levering up.
Yeah,
but then you can offset that by managing it yourself.
Exactly.
Keeping the cost low.
Keeping the cost low, and then time heals that too.
Yeah,
because you are paying down your mortgage over time, and then you do have that appreciation, like I was talking about. So yeah, then your equity cushion continues to grow over time.
Yeah. So then out of your clients, what's the most common, like, so they bought a 2 to 4 unit, what's their most common, we'll call it strategy? Like, what are they exactly doing?
So most of my clients are actually buying standalone investment properties, and
what does that mean? They're not moving into them.
But a select few have been moving into them, but yeah, I would say majority are.
In what size? They're talking 2 to 4 units, or 8
3
units,
to 4 has been the sweet spot for both, actually, non-owner occupied and owner occupied.
Yeah, there's a ton of those in Chicago.
Yeah, there's a ton. So. And really, we're going back to kind of like an old school methodology. It's like, well, if you buy a multi-unit and you live in it, you save on your housing expense, right. And something that was done years ago that I feel like is a trend coming back now.
So yeah, then really it's just kind of, some people are moving in, taking advantage maybe of these loan programs. Other people, they're just saying, I just want to keep it as an investment. I'm okay putting a little more money down, and then I'll just run it. Exactly.
Like I have clients that are looking strictly for passive income into perpetuity. So like they're looking for armchair investments, essentially, where purchase the property, have third-party managements, and they're just collecting the check.
Nice. Yeah, and one thing that's interesting too, when you think about it, where so if you live in the property, sure, you're saving because you're not. You have rent offsetting expenses, but you're also not collecting revenue on that unit. So if so to me, the main difference is the down payment situation, where if you had the down payment for, you could put 20% down on all your properties, then the numbers would be the same. If it's like, well, I'm just going to live in this condo and not have to be at the same property. It's kind of the same thing, as long as your condo is like a similar price to let's say the unit you would have taken offline and lived in yourself. So that's something too that like I think people they'll figure out and they go, well, I could move out of my place. I'm paying $2,000 a month, but I just moved into that unit for $2,000 a month. I might as well just rent it and stay put.
Yeah.
So then I bet that's why people are coming to that conclusion, because I've sort of looked at that, where I've lived in places I've owned at different times. I think I've lived in 3 of my buildings over the years, but it wasn't. Only one of the times it was because I could I could have a lower down payment. Otherwise, it was just sort of like convenience. Like I knew we had a unit opening up and just went for it.
Yeah, and there is that convenience factor. And for me, I knew I wanted to buy something, and I didn't have 2 down payments. I had 1.
Yeah.
So I bought something I could live in.
Yeah.
I didn't know how long I'd stay there. I didn't realize I'd be there 9 years, on the rental side.
Yeah.
And then,
I know. Yeah.
developing it later on. But
yeah, it was a great plan. And then, time goes by quickly. And then, just like any real estate deal, it goes up in value. You pay the loan down, and I'm sure that's worked out great. So then so then you've been managing properties for a long time. Let's kind of close with talking about property management. And so what do really you've been managing properties. I mean, I feel like there's like 20 plus years almost if you started out as a high schooler here.
Yeah, I guess. And maybe I was an assistant property manager at that time. I don't know. But so I actually enjoy property management. I like interacting with people. And to me, like I have my systems in place that makes property management easy. So
what are some examples of that?
Oh, just having some software to help out, or having database of vendors that I can reach out to for specific problems, and where I could trust them too.
Yeah.
So like for maintenance requests, for example, when I first started out, I would meet the maintenance person out at the property, or I'd meet ABT when they deliver
the
appliance.
appliance company. Yep.
And that was a big waste of time. So what did I do? I look at everything in my business and like do it, delegate it, or delete it.
Nice.
And so, for meeting the maintenance guy out, I deleted that task because they don't need to be met. They can handle everything on their own.
Yeah.
And then for meeting ABT, I delegate that to the tenants. They need to be home to accept delivery of their appliance, and they're happy to do so.
Yeah, they're getting a new appliance.
So they're getting a new appliance. So just having those processes in place makes it easy.
Nice. So then setting up systems, and then getting that's the first answer I heard just getting the reliable vendors.
Yep.
Was that easy to find, maintenance people you can just send without meeting them, or how'd you do that?
It takes some time. So, we've been through a number of maintenance people over the years and are always looking to expand, because you just never know when someone's going to get busy, or someone gets hurt and can't work anymore, or
right.
So, there's a constant effort of, reaching out and finding new sources, but consistently I've worked with the same general contractor and same, general maintenance team for, 5 to 10 years. It's, so there's been consistency there. And then, have some tradespeople like a plumber that I've used for almost the same amount of time, but then I have a second and third plumber, because it's hard to rely on one person. There's labor shortages, and you have to deal with what you have.
Yeah, it makes total sense. I think a lot of people, when they talk to me about maybe investing on their own or something, they're talking a lot of worry around property management or just emergencies. Mm-hmm. If you're managing it yourself, what would you sort of say, about that concern people have?
There aren't as many emergencies as you'd think, and you have your people for them. I'll be honest, I've shown up when water heaters are leaking 3 floors down, and I've been the one pulling the carpet out. So, stuff like that happens every once in a while. But for the most part, I'm not showing up to emergency situations anymore.
Yeah.
If someone says there's a gas leak, I'm not the one to show up. I don't have the equipment to test gas leaks. Call People's Gas, they come out. Usually it has to do with water, gas leaks, stuff like that. But it's very manageable once you realize I'm not the person to fix it. You have your people to fix it.
Yeah, but you're getting the calls though.
I'm getting the calls. Yes.
So
and I'm getting the calls, and then I just, delegate out to who is the best person to fix it.
Yeah. Cause then the answer I'm hearing, and I've sort of, at least the conclusion I've come to is, so you think, okay, you're in charge of this building 24 hours a day, every day. Yep. And then the actual things that are like a true middle of the night emergency, it's more or less just like a water issue, some sort of big leak, like your example, and then a heat out in the winter.
Yep. Some
parts of the country, AC out, if you're in the South, and that's almost like it, or then like a true disaster, like a fire. Where it's a lot of most everything basically doesn't fall in those buckets. It's like something's broken, but then that can just wait till the next morning or the next business day, basically. Yeah. So it's not as bad as people think. They're thinking like, well, I'll be out there at 3 a.m. fixing a toilet, but you could just send someone at 8 a.m. to fix it.
Exactly. And I mean, there's preventative maintenance that you can prevent your furnace from going out, or,
Right.
Pipes freezing. You make sure your tenants are setting their temperature in their home, even when they're on vacation, to a high enough level where you're not worried about pipes freezing.
Yeah.
So there's ways to prevent the catastrophe from happening, and something that you pick up on over time. But yeah, it's all manageable.
Nice. And then what about, how did you meet these vendors then? Because that'll be another thing. Someone that's going to buy my first 2-unit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any maintenance people. I don't know anything about, construction or maintenance.
So
what do they do?
Word of mouth, meeting them from being out at a property, and just happening upon their information. I mean, that's like the simplest way. But I've scrolled through Angie's list and called various vendors. But I would say the best is word of mouth. And if someone's used them and they're happy with them, that's always been the most useful way to find someone.
Yeah, it makes sense. And then I think the plumber you're mentioning, like that guy I met in the garage where I lived, he was thawing out a pipe.
Yeah,
so I was like, well, here's a guy doing emergency calls. Who showed up?
On the weekend.
Let me get his information.
Yep.
And then, that's, one of our main plumbers then.
Yep.
Yeah. And then kind of something else I heard in there, and I'll pull that out, is where you're saying you were contacting them about keeping their heat, so then what have you learned around that? Like for tenant communication or being proactive? I mean, to me, I heard that as being proactive and having like some sort of process around it.
It's important to be proactive with tenants and have a plan in place going into, each season essentially. And, that will make for happier tenants. And really, like, for someone going into managing their own property, it's important to go in with thick skin, because people never email you saying, oh, everything's great. It's always there's some sort of issue. And then the way around that is you just take care of the issue efficiently and effectively. And then, the tenants will love you for that. So, it all circles back to just making sure you have the systems in place to take care of business.
But then how do you not take stuff like that personally then?
I mean, the first couple times you do, and just over time you realized I'm a problem solver here. So they're coming to me with a problem. Don't take it personally. Like, I didn't create the problem. It's a problem, and I'm going to do what it takes to fix it, and then it's done. So, and by that point, they're appreciative and very happy you took care of things, because I know there's a lot of landlords that let things go. So
then you'll see through the the frank communication, or people yelling or crying, like you just see it then as that's just a problem. I'm gonna just deal with the problem.
Yeah. Exactly. Like and usually it's hard to interpret someone's emotional state when they're writing an email versus you go and have an actual conversation with them and everything's fine. So
okay. So then some of that's experience too. Then get an email, or we have for our thing, and you use it too, the maintenance portal.
Yep.
That you're just typing in a box, so it's like it doesn't come through friendly, where most people don't think maybe I should like throw a hello on this or something, or how's it going, guys? I got this thing. Like they just type in the request. Here's the 2 things.
Yep. Exactly.
Need it done quick, or like whatever. But interesting. Yeah, to hear how you approach that. For me, when I see those things, I just kind of think like, how do I want to describe it? Where I'm trying to see the big picture. Where okay, we got this bill, like if it's your initial place, I got this 3-unit. This deal is going super well. I was able to get into it. I'm doing well, like living in it financially. So then this person complaining about their toilet that's angry at me right now, it's not bothering me. We'll get it fixed, and then I'm really happy with how this deal's going. So I kind of zoom out to the deal level, where even these things where we've had fires at building, or I think maybe that water leak with ripping out the carpet, that might have been at my building.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I thought that was something else with a furnace. So I didn't remember if that was the drain one or a water heater. So
just a water heater.
Okay. I didn't jump in on that one, but yeah, we had a couple saves at that building. Another one where a tenant had a pipe break above their water heater or below it, and then where the shutoff was. So good. Thank you for that as well. Save the building a second time. And so I sort of, on that stuff, I just zoom out to the deal level, and I'm like, well, this deal's going super well. This, carpet and drywall and water heater is not really gonna ruin my day.
It's not going to derail you.
Keep it moving. Yeah, because people will comment about that, and then I just think like, well, what? I'm just not gonna buy any more properties because I'm gonna be worried about carpet. I'll just keep moving. So interesting. Yeah, you have a similar thing where you just kind of see it. This is just today's problem. I'll just get this fixed, and I'm just gonna kind of continue on. I'm not really worrying about this person getting emotional or whatever the new problem is. Exactly. Nice. So then any like advice or any other stuff about property management you think would be interesting for someone to hear that maybe hasn't done it before?
Well, for me, I manage my properties, A, because I like it, but B, because it saves me money. I'm already in the business of real estate, so there's commission saved, and then there's also management fee saved.
The commissions you're talking about, like paying someone to lease units, or what?
Correct. Yeah, correct. So, I put all my units up on the MLS, so there's other brokers that can rent them, but then I'm only paying out a cooperative compensation on that. No need to pay myself. So,
just leave it in the building. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So then your advice, your thought is, so if you're starting out with this, like just think of it as I'm saving money.
Yep.
Okay, nice.
You're saving money, and even if you don't have to be a realtor to rent out your own units either.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other platforms where you can rent them out off market. And so that's another savings for you there, where you're not paying a leasing commission to anyone.
Right.
And especially if you only have, let's say you have one property and you're renting out 2 units, it becomes very easy for you to, step downstairs and show the unit. Yeah, and
just put the ad on, Zillow, or let it go to all the Zillow sites and do it that way. That's interesting you say that. I would add one thing where, for managing your own properties, what I've liked about it is you're learning a lot about the property and just how stuff works. So, that was something I read early on in one of the first real estate investing books that I read. The person talked about you should try to manage at least your first 1 or 2 properties, and then you'll know what are you hiring this management company to actually do. So that's how I always kind of thought of it too, was, on the early deals that I did where I was managing them was, so something for like a takeaway for a listener who you're going to buy your first property. Just think of it as even a learning experience. Now you actually know what's going on at the property, how stuff really works. Then if you hire it out, you know what you're sort of paying for.
Yeah, exactly. And that's very smart. Smart way to look at it.
So it's from a book. Don't worry, it wasn't my original idea.
Come up with it.
Well, nice. Well, great, Mike. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. I mean, I think why don't we just leave it there? Thanks for being on. I mean, how would our listeners get in touch with you?
Great. Well, you can reach out to me via email, mike@hansen-team.com. You can also reach out on my website, hansen-team.com. And also, I'm on LinkedIn. Find me, Michael Hansen at Keller Williams, Chicago. So, if you are interested in learning more about, passive income or, living rent-free, house payment-free, I'd love to start the conversation.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, thanks for being on. Appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, and thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for joining us on the Rise and Invest podcast. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you enjoy your podcasts. If you'd like to dive even deeper into real estate investing, check out our company's website, riseinvest.com, where we have numerous free resources and information that can help both active and passive real estate investors. Our 100-plus page passive investing guidebook, our trends report, and our blog are all available on our website. If you are an accredited investor, you can get started today as a passive investor in our multifamily investment opportunities by hitting the Invest Now button on our website.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of Drew Breneman and guests as of the date of recording and do not purport to reflect the views or opinions of Rise Invest Holdings LLC and its subsidiaries. The views and opinions are provided for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon or deemed as investment or tax advice or an offer to buy or sell securities, and the speaker cannot be held responsible for any direct or incidental loss incurred by applying any of the information offered.